Half a mile, keep left before to continue toward Mississippi 713.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome. Oh,
Good morning. Welcome to this month's edition of
Informative investing.
Oak Hill Regional Community Development Corporation's third Wednesday Parent Resource Chat. As you know, my name is Bettina Campbell. I am the Social Service Coordinator and also a Medicaid CHIP assister with the Oak Hill Regional Community Development Corporation, which is the parent corporation for Healthy Kids Mississippi. I'm again your moderator for today. We also have with us Lottie Miner, who is our program director for Oak Hill Regional Community Development Corporation, and Thomas Robertson, who is our metrics and technology director, and he's assisting us with technology today. We recognize our board chair, Jennifer Garrett, and our executive director, Dr. Michael O. Miner. In addition to this Zoom, we will be restreaming today's webinar on the Oak Hill Regional Community Development and CDC Healthy Kids Mississippi web pages. We want you to please feel free to share your social media. During the month of August, we typically recognize National Immunization Awareness Month, National Breastfeeding Month, and the National Minority Donor Awareness Day, all of which are very important. However, today we wanted to talk with you about artificial intelligence, better known as AI, and its relationship to mental health. And our speaker will also share with you some resources. Today, our speaker, Terrence Campbell, my son, is no stranger to us. However, we may have some new listeners today. So I'm going to tell you just a bit about Terrence. He is a published assistant computer science and information technology professor at Trine University with over 35 years of experience, senior level IT experience across several business sectors and 5 countries. During this time, Terrence has also obtained over 25 years of experience building under-resourced minority communities' capacity to enhance their resilience to behavioral triggered and biological and electronic infections. As a graduate teaching assistant doing an EDD in educational leadership at Tennessee State University, Terrence assists students and leaders at 46 HBCUs and 3 African countries to design digital resources capable of using institutional factors to reduce the impact of health and wellness disparities. Terrence also serves as a cyber researcher for the National Cyber Watch Center, and he's a member of the leadership team for the American Public Health Informatics and IT Subcommittee. Welcome, Terrence. Before we get started with his presentation, I want to encourage you to please share this webinar on your social media platforms. Then I want you to get a pencil and paper and write down your questions as we go along so that you will be able to have them answered before the end of this presentation. And if we can't answer them then, we will make sure that we get answers for you. So thank you, Terrence, for joining us today. And I'm so excited to hear what you have to share with us.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so thank you.
Yes, you're coming through loud and clear.
Absolutely, great. So thank you for the opportunity. I need to be able to share my presentation.
Yep, it's already set, good to go. Should be the
There we
check.
go. Yeah, no, there we go. All right. Let me minimize that. All right, so what I wanted to make sure to do, given all of the, I won't necessarily say, I'll say challenging information and responses and all this other kind of stuff that we've had in terms of ChatGPT. Oh, hold on just a minute. I think I might know what's going on. Y'all getting feedback. Hold on.
Mr. Campbell will be right back. We are having a feedback, so he's trying to correct that situation.
Is there still feedback? Is that better? Okay. I can't, but you know, yeah, let me turn this up a little bit because I can barely hear too. All right, so before I go into what AI and what's being done in terms of AI, generative AI in healthcare, I do want to just kind of set the context in terms of what the difference between technology and information technology, because we oftentimes try to use those words interchangeably, and they actually are two different things. And so starting with science, okay, and science is just the process of discovering, explaining, and predicting nature, and it is just focused on what is, okay, in terms of just life. And so as we look at technology, okay, it's the activity where we apply scientific knowledge, okay, to problems focused on not just what can be, but said in a different way to either enhance mankind's problem solving ability or to achieve a particular objective. Okay. And so in that frame of mind, technology can be anything from the clothes that we have on our backs to paper to the chairs, tables, physical structures that we have, to include healthcare in and of itself in its various forms, from medicine all the way to medical devices. And so when we integrate either machinery and or digital mediums into a particular technology, it then becomes information technology, in that we're looking to enhance its effectiveness. And as we think about areas of effectiveness, there are three. So we're going to either enhance its productivity, we're going to be able to do more with less, or we're going to focus on the reach, in that we want to engage more individuals, more communities, more states, more organizations, more countries, or we want to do something different, have that technology do something different. And so the example that I oftentimes use in terms of technology to information technology would be using paper or legal pads as an example of technology, whereas the integration of machinery and or digital mediums into that technology would be any of the tablets that we use today. Okay, so whether that tablet is from Apple, that tablet is from Dell, or that tablet is from Microsoft, okay, that does allow us to now do a lot more in terms of less resources. That allows us to combine that with things like our free email. So now we can share it, we can reach more individuals. And now in terms of scope, we can actually take that wherever we want to go, on the go, or being in this mobile economy that we call the global world. All right, so now that we've made a difference between information technology and technology, now we've got this new movement, okay? The Internet of Things. I'm sure all of you have heard that term or heard the term IoT. And all that is just a fancy way of saying now those things that many of us have not been accustomed to connecting to the internet are now able to do that. So we've got i.e. smartphones, I call them pocket computers. We've got kitchen appliances, refrigerators, microwaves, stoves. One of our favorite IoT devices are now these different sizes of Roku televisions or smart TVs and Fire Sticks. We've even got things like flashlights. And for those of us that have, light bulbs. And for those of us that have newer cars, our cars can now connect to the internet. And so what we have as a byproduct of IoT is big data. And so now we've got all of these new devices connecting to the internet combined with the natural internet traffic, such that we've got a ton of things, not just collecting and processing data, but sharing and storing that data as well. And so we've created this situation where there is a ton of data everywhere, and folks are trying to figure out, how do we take all of this data and identify different patterns within this data such that we can take mankind to its next level, whatever that might look like for varying aspects or varying sectors of business, of our daily lives. And so we are now at a situation where artificial intelligence is not something new. I do want to clarify that it's not something new, but it is something that we are now, in terms of the average everyday person, more able to use that in our daily life for whatever we want to use. And before we talk a little bit more about artificial intelligence, I do want to make sure that we understand the different terminology associated with artificial intelligence. So there's deep learning, machine learning, and then there's artificial intelligence, as this graphic points out. And so deep learning is just a fancy word for saying we are creating a scenario where computers are using small data sets, okay, to learn from, to develop patterns, to start thinking more human-like. Machine learning just uses a lot more data, okay, over that time, whatever that set time is, to learn. And so the next step after machine learning is artificial intelligence, where computers, okay, digital devices in general, are able to perform more human-like behaviors, okay? There are several examples of us using AI every day, with some of these examples getting back to what I've said in terms of it's nothing new. Google and other search engines. What do I mean by that? When you start typing into Google or whatever search engine that you're using, you automatically see different kinds of options populating, because it's trying to guess what you're trying to type in and then just let you select that as you need to select it, okay? As I've mentioned, smart vehicles and other devices, okay, they do things to help you predict, okay? Many of us are very familiar with Siri, very familiar with Alexa. When you ask a question, you get almost an immediate response. There's back in the background going through using all these algorithms. Okay. And all that is just a fancy word for formulas. It's been programmed to go through a whole lot of formulas, facial recognition, and other biometric systems that we use, i.e., some of us use our fingerprint on our smart or our pocket computers. Some of us actually have a pattern that we use for those, or our laptops. Okay. There's not just facial recognition. Okay. There's voice recognition. There's retina and iris recognition. And in some places, they actually do hand recognition, but it's beyond just your fingerprints. They can actually look at the veins in your hand. Many of us have a variety of digital assistants, everything from answering our phone to scheduling calendars, entertainment and social apps, to include online banking and other e-commerce type operations. And so when we talk about ChatGPT and similar AI solutions, okay, we're talking about the use of generative pre-trained transformers. Okay. And so now what we've got in terms of these transformers, a situation where we go to thousands or millions of pages with respect to machine learning and AI, to now billions, okay, of pages of information that can be processed. But now we also have a situation where those connections from those pages, and just looking at the pages and going all the way, say, to a book. So it can look at the connections between books, chapters, pages, and those individual sentences to create new and original content. And so that's the real controversial piece with ChatGPT and other resources like it that use GBT or generative pre-trained transformers, because that new original content can be in the form of audio files, source code, images, text, simulations, and video. And that's definitely at the heart of what is going on in Hollywood, if you all have not been following that strike in terms of the story, and that there was a clause, or there is a clause in current contracts, that they want to be able to use their likenesses however they want to use, for how long ever they want to use it, and not pay the actors an additional amount of money. And you can see how controversial that is with respect to them being able to use GBT technologies to create original content in the form of either of these areas on this slide, or areas that we have yet to determine. However, I do want to make sure that we're clear that while the news, or what's been in the news, has been negative aspects, okay, of GBT technology, that there are a ton of awesome things, okay, that it does offer, but it does require us as individuals and us as a collective society to reclaim a sense of not only morality, but ethics as well, because we can improve customer experiences. Okay. We can boost personalization. Okay. We can do those things to be more equitable. We can do those things in terms of underserved minority communities, under-resourced minority communities, help them have a higher quality of life, and not just in terms of health, physical health, but economic health as well. And so as we look at AI, generative AI, and some of the areas that it has positively impacted healthcare, looking specifically at community health, medical imaging, drug discovery, personalized medicine, i.e. precision medicine, and population health management. These are some of the examples of some of the resources, tools, digital technologies, and applications that have been used. But there's also huge opportunities for the community to identify specific apps for itself and unapologetically figure out how to monetize those apps. That's where a lot of my research is going to be at Trine University, and I'll take questions now from the audience.
Wow. That kind of clears up a lot for me, because to me, AI was something, I thought it was something mysterious and different. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So now we actually know what it is, and we be able to understand how to better use it. So we open up to questions. I think that I don't know if Mr. Robinson or Mr. Campbell watching the chat to let us know if we have questions. There is a question from one of the panelists. It says, is AI being used? I'm sorry, let me read that. Is AI being used to track individuals for government use?
I would say absolutely. And I would say absolutely. It's not just our government. It is, there's every government in the country is using some form of AI, okay, to identify, if nothing more, how it can be more effective and efficient, right? I'm not going to go the whole Big Brother piece and all of that, because we know that is happening. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that is not, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole either for this particular conversation. So I'll even narrow it down in terms of, there are things that your center has actually, from a development of AI perspective and platforms, have helped organizations like the CDC and local health departments start putting in a platform to better assess whether the information that they're collecting at a community level is as accurate and as clean as it can be. Okay. We have done some things in terms of AI with a game. It was called Chat, to actually see where community residents, excuse me, we won't say community, but residents wanted to see where health research dollars needed to be spent. And so on the back end is a big database, and we're using different kinds of algorithms, analytics, digital logic to help us comb through that data and provide reports to the state of Michigan, to PCORI, which was actually founded with dollars from the Affordable Care Act, which was a precursor to precision medicine.
if I'm understanding that there are no more questions in the, oh, wait, there's one. A question from Sister Wilson says, what is the best type of software to protect personal digital devices?
So I would say there is not a single silver bullet to protect your digital devices. Cybersecurity is what you're what I would say that you're getting at. And so it is a combination of not just software, but you as a person engaging in, it's called cyber hygiene. And just like hygiene for any kind of biological infection, is focused on making sure you routinely engage in activities to protect your digital devices. So you oftentimes hear about having strong passwords. We move to having strong passphrases. So putting together combination of words, making sure that in terms of your credentials, that you're not using the same credentials for all of your social media. And yeah, folks shouldn't be there trying to break into your stuff and all of that, you know, but as I often say, the evil empire, Dark Vader, whatever villainous group that you prescribe to, they out in the internet trying to break into your system. So it's your responsibility to make sure that you're using strong passwords, that you're backing up your systems regularly. Most of the cloud solutions are very have a very high level of physical security, meaning you can't get to stuff. So that's another, you know, means in terms of cyber hygiene, making sure that folks don't have physical access to your important things, making sure that in terms of while you out and about, you are not connecting to any foreign hotspots. And if you have to, make sure that you're turning discovery off and that you're not engaging in any activities that if folks were able to get to your machine and get your passwords or credentials, okay, that does not compromise yourself, i.e. online banking, okay, it's not that important. Do it before you leave the house. And there's just a ton of other things to include. Make sure that at least once a quarter, okay, y'all heard that's 3 months, once a quarter, that y'all backing up y'all information, okay? And then I say that to just say stop and think right now. Just your pictures. We not even thinking about nothing else, okay? We focusing on your pictures. How much, not just physically, but emotionally, if you lost your picture, all your pictures today, if they just broke in and stole all your pictures, can't get them back. But if you had a backup, you would be okay.
Okay, so thank you. That's wonderful. And we have another good question in the chat. We actually have two more. One says, lately the mobile phones have sent messages that cross phone numbers into guard. Who guards this activity?
Well, see that. That goes all the way back to what I think was about 5 years ago, that the FCC said that they were going to give the telecom companies, the ability to monitor themselves. And that's besides the fact that we've known for decades that information brokering is the #1 industry on the face of the planet. So it goes right back to what our elected officials have allowed to be done.
Okay. And then there's another question that says, what are the biggest risks of AI?
Well, I would, again, that was kind of where I was alluding to the morality and ethical use of, because it's just a digital technology. And unfortunately, we've seen throughout the history of digital technology that for every good thing the good guys come up with, you know, the purpose is for good, that it is flipped by the bad guy. So we need to have, the biggest challenge is having our elected officials truly have the citizens' best interest at heart across the board. Because believe it or not, some of the challenges that we see in this country with Google, okay, with Zoom, with other big tech giants, they're not having them over in Europe. They got billion-dollar fines that they got to pay. But we got to get everybody on the same accord. As Dr. Miner would say, we got to have everybody reading from the same hymnal, but then too also willing to act as well.
Okay, thank you. That's a good question. So there's another good question. It says, should you shut down your mobile phones completely? And if so, how often?
Ooh, see that? So somebody been listening to me for a while. I mean, that's personal preference, for folks. I definitely am a proponent of, at some time at the end of the day, disconnect from the matrix. No TV, no digital devices. Get better in touch with your family, with your friends. Drive over to somebody's house. And I would say that's daily. Now, depending on what your situation is, because I know some folks that are that have been in some identity theft scenarios, that have been cyberbullied, ongoing cyberbullying. That would be something that we would need to talk about, because it's going to not just be a combination of turning off your phone. It's going to be getting, say, a different SIM card or a different ISP, so that you can not just protect yourself, but you can start having this digital profile that you can report. Okay, I'm saying it again, report. If you're getting jacked up emails, constantly phishing emails that you didn't won the lottery and you ain't played no lottery, report it, because law enforcement agencies need to be able to develop profiles for digital crimes, no different than they need to do that for physical crimes. And so once they got those profiles, then they can share them across counties, across states, across countries. And there is a very what do I want to say, strong movement, not just in this country, that Biden has started. And that's one of the many things that his media people need to do a better job of, but they're actually creating or putting a more strong framework around a Interpol variation for cyber crimes.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. We have another question. I'm very happy to see how engaged our listeners are today. We have another question that says, should we all use a VPN?
Absolutely. And so to kind of parse VPN, and so that would be virtual private network. And all a VPN is just a fancy word for saying you have your own special encrypted tunnel in the network. And all encrypted means is that nobody can see it. You got your own secret tunnel that nobody can see in, and typically they cannot be broken into. I don't recall any reports over the last, I'll say 10, 15 years with respect to any VPNs being broken into. A physical version of a VPN would be the locks on your house. Only you have that key. Same thing for folks that had the newer cars with the fob. Only your fob can get you in your car.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Are there any I have a question. As employees, what steps can we take to make sure that our employers are aware of the need for these types of securities, and just to see if they have them in place? Because sometimes we doing our business from work, we probably shouldn't be, but sometimes we are. And so how do we make sure that when we do slip up and do something like that, that it is secure?
So I think one thing is important, that every business has some body or some team that's acting as the HR department, and having those conversations with them. Typically, the HR department does have routine conversations with IT regarding these, regarding your questions. Typically, those manifest themselves in one of two ways: policies and procedures in the employee handbook. Okay, so make sure you read your employee handbook, but then two, periodic trainings for different kinds of cyber related crimes. And so one of the things, or activities to protect the organizations. And so one of the things that's not oftentimes thought about is that they actually have physical threat training and physical threat simulations, not just in terms of IT, but in terms of the different departments as well, because of the nature of the work that different departments engage in. There sometimes needs to be customized training for those departments. And when all else fails, I mean, ask, right? You gotta ask.
So are there any other questions? If so, you can open up your mic and ask questions. If not, we're going to move forward. Okay, so there are no more questions. And so, okay, so Mr. Campbell, we really want to thank you so very much for joining us. We'd like to ask, is there anything else that you think that we should know that you have not shared with us thus far?
I would say it's a whole lot. I would say it's a ton to that question. However, what I will say is that let's save that for another time when we can actually give the time for any of those topics that you would like me to come back and talk about, so that we're not having folks feel like they are trying to get a drink of water from a fire hydrant.
Thank you so much. This has been a very good conversation. We are so happy that you were able to join us. And I think that we both been reminded about how important AI is and that we should practice and promote behaviors that are beneficial to not only our mental health, but also the security of our personal information, and especially and including our health information, because we know that there are people out there that, if it gets into the wrong hands, will use it for our harm and not for our good. So thank you so very much for being here. And once again, we want to,
in any time.
Thank you. Once again, we want to encourage our audience to share today's webinar in your social media networks. We want and that if you have questions, if they have questions, this webinar will be posted in the chat, so they can always go. You can always refer them to the YouTube to be able to look at it. And so we want to say, remind you of some things. On Monday, August the 28th at 6 p.m., we want to remind you to join Ask Mary and Pat for our Zoom webinar. And they are providing awesome information and asking all kinds of important questions to make sure that you understand the importance of having health care, not only for yourself, but for your children. And if you don't have health care, they can make some suggestions of places that, especially at Oak Hill Regional Community Development Corporation, where you can reach out, or who you can reach out to make sure that you are getting the services that you need to get the health insurance and health care for your family. Also, we want to remind you that on next third Wednesday's Parent Resource Chat, which will be November, I'm rushing this year ahead, which will be September the 20th. And in September, one of the things that we talk about is National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month. So we will have someone here talking to us about that and helping us to understand the importance of it, and in encouraging us as individuals and as communities and health providers and families to work together to raise the awareness of the obesity epidemic in our children, and to encourage people to work toward finding a solution. So remember that you may learn more about us at www.oakhillregionalcdc.com and www.healthykidsmississippi.org. Once again, we acknowledge our board chair, Jennifer Garrett, and our executive director, Dr. Michael O'Miner. This has been a production of the Oak Hill Regional Community Development Corporation, belonging, building, and bridging in the Mid-South region and across the state of Mississippi. For those of you who are on Zoom, please stick around, and we will have just a few minutes where we can ask additional questions or give some comments. For those of you who are on other social media platforms, please enjoy and have a blessed rest of the day.